Hello and welcome. This is Trusting Through Trials. My name is Kyla Inez, and I will be your host of this podcast. This is a Christian podcast, does not mean you have to be Christian to listen. This is my first ever episode, and I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. I have attempted to film this actually already multiple times. This is day 2 of trying to film my first episode. Hopefully this is the keeper. In this episode, I'm just going to be talking about a bit of my testimony, hopefully get you guys to know who I am, so you know who you're listening to, and why I started this podcast. But before I say anything, I would like to say that I am not like genius when it comes to Bible topics. I would not like to lead anyone astray, so if you hear something and you're like, I don't know if that totally aligns with what I believe, please do check your Bible, double check everything that I am saying, because I am human and I believe that you should double check anything that anyone says, no matter who it is, because we're people and we can make mistakes, we can say things wrong, it happens. But I would like to hopefully be a tool in your life to help you grow closer to God. And this is actually, I'm doing this to help build my relationship with God, because I am not, I am not a speaker. If you couldn't tell, I'm not a speaker. I'm very keep to myself. I don't talk to people that often, and I'm really bad with words, so I might stumble a few times. Bear with me. Yeah, but I'm here to share my story, and I've just felt God calling me to start this, and I've been avoiding it for a long time. I felt like Jonah, actually. If you don't know who that is, it's a man from the Bible who was called to go and warn the people of Nineveh and tell them to turn to God, and they did. But before he ended up getting there, he ran from God. He went in the opposite direction of where he was told to go. I'm not totally genius, like I said, on this story, so you could double check this as well. But basically, he did not listen to God at first, and he went in the opposite direction. And I felt like I've kind of been hiding from this and been avoiding starting. But I am here now, so we're doing it. We're getting there. We're moving forward slowly but surely. Yeah, and it's been a long time in the process. But basically, I just was listening to a podcast, because for me, podcasts are a huge help in my relationship with God. When it can be too hard for me to open my Bible, sometimes I like to listen to a podcast, and then sometimes I have the strength to open up my Bible. And so they're a real help for me, and just learning through others' experiences and realizing that I'm not alone in everything that I'm feeling, and it is normal to feel certain ways, and it's not a bad thing, because we can always lean on God with whatever it is. Yeah, so that's kind of why I've started, because I was listening and I was like, these help me a lot, and I feel like that I could add to, um, I could add to people's life, and I feel like I could share my stories and help others, and hopefully I do, and hopefully I am able to do that. Sorry, this is a little freaky for me. This in itself actually is a trial. Trusting Through Trials is the name of this podcast, because I've gone through so many, I feel like, and I want to share those. But this actually is a trial in and of itself, because I am not used to talking, and I'm so scared of this. I don't know anything how to edit. I don't know anything when it comes to like social media little thingies. So this is new for me, And this is actually a trial that I'm facing right now. And so hopefully even this is an encouragement to you to go and do whatever God is telling you to do. And you're able to be like, hey, she took a leap of faith. Maybe it's time for me to. I don't know. Yeah, I was really scared to start this because I'm like, what if it's not right? And I came up with so many excuses, honestly. Even today, I was making excuses as to why I shouldn't film, but honestly, there's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be a reason not to start, and it's not right to just ignore that because of a what if it's not the right thing? What if it is? And what if it is what God is calling you to do and you're missing out because you're too scared to start? That is what I have been faced with. And so here I am. We're going with it. Yeah, we are. And you know what? If it isn't what God has called you to do, He's not going to look at you and be disappointed and be like, that was so silly. You shouldn't have done that. He's going to look at you and be like, hey, I'm proud of you. You took a leap of faith. You decided to put your trust into me. And He's going to use that experience to help build you up, even if it's not what was meant to be. And so if this isn't what's meant to be, He's still going to be like, hey, you tried. You took a leap of faith and you tried. You put your faith in me, and I will use this experience to help you grow closer to me. He can use everything for His good. And yes. Hopefully this is an encouragement. I am rambling a little bit repetitiveness, and I apologize for that, but this is my first episode. Bear with me. I'm gonna mess up, but this is the learning process, and I do believe that I'll get better over time and I'll be able to speak better and hopefully be more tolerable to listen to, and my words will flow better and I won't be like, but it is a learning process. So I'm kind of like documenting my journey, and so that I want you guys to be able to see my journey and just see the realness of it. I would like this podcast to be very real and open and vulnerable, so that you do feel connected. And I just really want to help in others' lives, like podcasts have helped in my life. Okay. So I did take a little pause, so this might be a little funny cut looking if you're watching. So podcasts have been a huge help in my life, and so I'm doing it to hopefully help others and to share my experiences so that you guys are like, oh, maybe this is normal. Maybe it's not weird. It's not, most likely. I don't even know what I'm referring to right now that you would be thinking of in your head, but I'm just saying lots of things happen in your life, and it can be hard, and you can think that you're the only Christian going through that when really the reality is you're not. And we all have struggles, and some of us, our struggles are a lot harder, and temptations can really hit us. Like some people have a really hard time with lying, and it's just comes so easily to them, and it's really hard for them to not lie, whereas other people, they hardly ever lie, and it's really easy for them not to. But that doesn't mean that they're better in any way, because we've all fallen short of the glory of God, and they probably have a sin that and a temptation that they really struggle with and is a lot harder for them to face. And so that is another thing that I just want people to know, that it's okay and you shouldn't compare yourself to others, because we all grow in different ways and God speaks to us in different ways, and we all have our different struggles. But at the end of the day, we're all created by God, and He has a plan for our life if we decide to go with it and decide to give him control. So I would like to say a little bit about my testimony and just how I grew up. I grew up in a Christian home. I'm very blessed to have gotten that opportunity. But it did come with struggles in and of itself because I just always felt like I had God. I always felt like He was with me. And so I doubted a lot of the time if I was really saved. And I was like, I don't know if He's really with me because I've always felt like He is, but what if He's not? And I actually asked Jesus into my life so many times, couldn't even count, because I was scared and I always doubted, am I really saved? And I think that that is a struggle that should be made known, that that's a normal thought too. And what my parents have told me is if you're having those thoughts and you are genuinely worried that you're not, if you weren't saved, you wouldn't be scared of that. You wouldn't be scared that you weren't going to heaven or you weren't, well, okay. You might be scared that you weren't going to heaven if you're not saved, but you wouldn't be concerned that you weren't saved and you wouldn't be wanting to be saved and be sure of yourself in that area. I don't know if this is making any sense, but hopefully it is. Hopefully someone's able to be like, okay, that does help me a little bit. Yeah, so I grew up and I always questioned, and I have had a lot of questions, and it's okay to question. There are questions that you have to give to God, and just put your faith in knowing that He has them under control, whatever it is. But there are other questions that do have answers, and it's okay to have those questions and to have doubts as long as you don't let them eat you up and you do try and find the truth. It is important to know why you believe what you believe, because later down the road you might get hit with so many questions, and then it's going to make you doubt if you're not sure of what you believe. So I think that's really important. I will talk about this more on another episode because I feel like that's a topic that could be a whole episode. Yeah, but I I questioned myself a lot, and I grew up, and then I ended up getting baptized when I was 12. I believe I was 12. And I did it because I did truly feel like I had God, and I was like, yes, I'm ready. And then later on, I think when I was about 15, I started to resent God a little bit, and I didn't want Him, and I was ignoring Him, and I hated hearing His name, and I just turned away from Him, kind of. Not fully, but I mean, I kind of did because I didn't want to hear anything to do with Him. And it was really hard for me to just hear His name. And I I started feeling depressed, and I went into a big depressive state that lasted a few years, and I got really good at covering up my emotions, and I just faked a smile, and I just said I'm okay, but I wasn't, and I forgot what happiness felt like. I went numb to feelings in general. I did, and whenever I laughed, it was fake. I just learned how to cover it up really well, and I didn't know how to function really because I just felt so broken. And that brokenness was because I didn't have God, and I wasn't pursuing Him every day, and I wasn't reading, and I wasn't praying. And so eventually over time I told my cousin about it, and she had told me that she also struggled with depression, and she said that instead of asking God to fix her, she learned to ask God to give her strength to get through it. And so I learned to lean on God in my depression, and I would pray to Him to give me strength and to help me through my depression, even though I wasn't super close to Him. And He really helped me. It was a slow process, but He really helped me grow closer to Him, and He used it for our relationship. And that's what He does. He can take bad things and turn them into good. Yeah, and even after that, I still went back into not wanting Him, and I just have had this constant up and down with God, like a roller coaster. I have my moments where I'm up high with Him, and then I fall back down and I'm unmotivated and I don't want to read. And that happens. It does. And you can't beat yourself up about it, because you have the decision and you have the option to pick up your Bible and read it. And sometimes it is really hard to pick up and read your Bible. Like, I used to find it boring to read the Bible. I don't even read my Bible every day. That is something I'm currently working on to do. But I used to find it boring. And the more you read it and the more you're in it, the less you will find it boring. And something that I heard once upon a time that really helped me to understand why I found the Bible boring was because I was filling my brain with things that would temporarily satisfy me, like social media or video games. And with doing that, I would be temporarily satisfied, and I wouldn't feel the need to read my Bible. And so then when I did go to read it, I would be like, this is so boring. I want to do that. And it's like junk food, honestly. The things of the world, like video games and other distractions. And the Bible is the bread of life. It is something that is meant to feed you. And so if you're getting your food somewhere else, then you're gonna feel full and you're not gonna want to read it. So if you're getting your satisfaction from social media, then you're not gonna want to read the Bible, and it might seem boring to you. You have to learn to read it, and just like with junk food, you are going to get used to eating it, and it's going to be hard to get out of the habit. It's going to be hard to eat healthy. It's the same thing, and that's okay. It takes time. Not everything with God is an instant fix. And it's okay. That's a big thing that I face a lot, is that it's okay that it's not an instant fix. It is a relationship, and it takes time, and He will help you. He will meet you. He will be with you if you really want Him. Yeah, so I just went on that big up and down in my life for a long time, and he's helping me now getting out of that. I feel like I'm just stepping out of my lukewarm phase. Hopefully I can do it. I think I can. I think I am. And He's helping me to see that it's okay that it's slow sometimes, and I'm not always gonna feel Him. That's another thing that I struggle with, is faith over feeling. And even if you can't feel God, even when I don't feel God, that doesn't mean He's not there. He's still with me, and He's still helping me. And I will feel Him again. I do feel Him. I do feel Him now, but I went through a time where I didn't feel Him, and I had to really learn faith over feeling, because it's not a feeling. Your faith isn't supposed to be a feeling. You're not supposed to constantly feel Him, because then the time you do have with Him wouldn't feel as special. But you can constantly have Him. And there are some people who feel Him all the time. That's not me, but some people do, and that's because they're in their word and they're praying always. And that is something that I hope I can have one day, is just feeling totally secure. But for right now, I'm just needing to take little steps, getting closer to him, and not try and do too much, because sometimes when I do too much, it makes me actually step back and then put it off. And so I'm learning to take little steps towards Jesus, and it's okay if I only read a little bit a day. It's okay if I miss a day of reading, if I go back and pick it up again. You don't have to beat yourself up for everything that happens. Yeah, that was I think I touched on everything I was planning on talking about. I don't know how long this is. I do think it's definitely a shorter episode, but that's okay. It was just for you guys to know a bit about who I was and why I'm doing this. And thank you so much if you listened through the whole thing. I really appreciate that, and I hope that you come back to see how God has used this in my life, and I hope that you're able to see growth, and that I'm better at speaking. I think it will come with time. But if that doesn't happen, don't be like, oh, hey, God didn't work in her life. No, God's still going to use this, even if this wasn't his plan for me. He's still going to use this in my life, and it might not be something that you guys see. So if you don't see any change, don't let that discourage you, because I know that this in and of itself, and me just filming this, is a big step in my faith, and it's helping me a lot to feel closer to Jesus. Yeah, but anyways, that was my episode. Thank you all for listening.